Hey everybody, thanks for joining me again for another one of my videos in my series of Market Talk. In this day and age, with all of the nervousness, with all of us being confined and the markets going crazy, I just think it's more important than ever that you guys get a different perspective. The gentleman I'm about to interview, his name is Aaron Tucker, and he is a financial advisor with Edward Jones. Aaron and I had a conversation the other day that I just felt was super powerful, and I wanted to share with you what he told me and some of the lessons that are based on history. This is what we get to learn from, is from history, right? So I hope you enjoy this interview. My guest today is a friend and incredible financial advisor. His name is Aaron Tucker, and he's with Edward Jones. Aaron and I haven't known each other that long, but we've quickly become good friends. He just has I love the way that he looks at his clients and always putting the needs first of his clients and always giving news, whether it's good or bad, straight talk. So I wanted to just have a conversation with him and let you guys hear from him kind of, a little bit about history, to try and keep things in perspective. We're not hoping that he gives us the stock of the week, but we are hoping that he, addresses some of your fears, because right now, there is a lot of fear out there. Some of you might be traders. Some of you might consider yourself fairly financially savvy. Maybe you have your own accounts that you trade. But I know that a lot of you don't have that, and you might just be getting started, or maybe you do have a 401k with some money in it and you're not sure what to do. So we just wanted to just kind of talk like we normally talk to each other, and let you guys listen in, and hopefully you pick up some nuggets. So Aaron, why don't you just first of all just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how long you've been doing this, and maybe even a little bit about your past and why the philosophy that you hold is dear to you.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. It was cool the other day when we had the phone call, and you were like, "Man, I wish I could have some of my friends and clients kind of be a fly on the wall for the things we're talking about." So yeah, thanks for doing this via Zoom and recording it. So yeah, as Barry said, I'm a financial advisor at Edward Jones. I've been doing that for a few years now. I'm honored. I'm privileged to manage a couple hundred families' financials, and guide them into their future and try to help them achieve their goals. And before this, I was a pastor, so it's an interesting story. If any of you ever wants to grab a coffee or a beer after this whole distance thing is over, let's do it, and I'll give you the full rundown. But with respect to my investment philosophy and like kind of how I talk to people, it's in a word, the word is discipline. And you said it, Barry. Like discipline and fear are the two polar opposites on how to think about investing, how to look at the market, how to read the news, and to know that. I mean, if nothing else, and I read and watch the news myself, but just to make sure that we're not doing any panic and we're not making any moves out of fear or greed. I say it all the time. I feel like I say it 10 times a day, that FOMO bone, that fear of missing out bone. I wasn't born with that, gratefully. And so I try to coach people through, like we kind of, you said already, I have to take off my financial advisor hat when I do these meetings, because I don't want to feel like I'm giving any advice to anyone. And instead I want to put on my educator hat or my historian hat, and just help people know where numbers are in space, and what historicals have done. And then, as people are able to make decisions about their portfolios and how news affects their portfolios, that's I think it's a helpful thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Aaron and I draw parallels with our clients in that, when a client buys a house or when they're refinancing a house, it's a very difficult thing to go through, just like when you're investing your money. And unfortunately, a lot of people make decisions based on emotion and based on what they've heard or they think they know, instead of leaning on their professional for the education part of it. Because you can all make, great decisions on your own if you have the right information. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, with the 24-hour news cycle and the crisis news networks, and I'm, CNN, Fox News, CNBC, or MSNBC, they're all trying to get us glued to the TV. And one minute you hear one thing and you get really excited, and that's the last thing you want to do, is to, make a major decision based on that kind of excitement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one of the things that Aaron and I were talking about the other day that I really thought was super important for all of you to hear was, kind of drawing a parallel to what we went through in 2008, after the last recession. Although this is different, what we're going through right now, because that was caused by the mortgage industry, the fear, the market dropping, eventually the market recovering. This is something that we can look at maybe and learn a few lessons. So Aaron said something to me. Aaron, why don't you share with them what you were telling me?
Yeah, well, we got talking about, is the market was going down, and then the market bounced back up, and the $1 million question, the multi-trillion-dollar question is, did we hit rock bottom? Like, again, that's what everyone wants an answer to. That's what I want an answer to. I say my crystal ball's in the shop, so I'll let you know. But again, historically, again, that taking off the financial advisor hat and just being a historian about it, we know that so think of 2008. That was really the really most difficult time of that whole crisis, and from September 2008 until December, so just that small window of time from September to December of 2008, there were 4 bounces back up. So on its way down, it bounced back up 4 times between 9 and 19% upward, like a retraction back upward before it continued its way down.
Wow.
And so I keep telling people, like, man, you never know when to jump out and you never know when to jump in. Barry, I actually looked last night just knowing we were going to have this conversation, and the same happened between 2000 and 2003. There were four, I think 8 to 20 something % bounces on the way down. And again, that's no prescription as to 4 being some magical number, but just historically saying, wow, the person who wins in this scenario is the person who approaches everything with that discipline and a long-term perspective.
Right. So how many bounces have we seen so far, since the market has started to correct itself now, Aaron?
Oof. Well, I mean, one big one, if you heard last week, it was a 10% rise, or loosely 10% rise or something like that, depending on which index you follow. And that was off of like a 30-ish% decline. So,
Right.
It felt great. Everyone was real happy about it, as was I, So, I mean, but there's been a bunch of little wins here and there, and that's the nature of these things, is it's going to feel like these catastrophic ups and downs, and until it all gets in the rearview mirror and we know what to do.
Right. Well, what I always, one of the reasons Aaron and I think connect is because when we first met, Aaron and I, had a meeting where we just kind of got to know each other and talked about each other's philosophies. And, the one philosophy that I think that we both adhere to is that there is no one size fits all, right?
Yeah. Right.
If you're sitting there watching the news, or you're watching CNBC, and you're trying to, get a prescription for what the next winner is going to be, or what the next opportunity is going to be, you might be getting bad information, because you may be brand new at investing, but you also may only have 10 or 15 years left before you retire. Whereas opposed, you might be, at 25 years old and you're just starting out. So I encourage you guys, the last thing anyone wants you to do is to, go through this blindly. We want you to feel like you've got a trusted advisor. And I can tell you from my own experience with Aaron that, he's just a really, low key, really, honest guy. If he's not looking to try and even make a buck on you, if he tries to give you some good information, it's for the sole purpose of giving you good information. At the end of the day, if you want to do business with him, then, you know, you guys can take it that next step. But, you know, Aaron, you're taking on some new clients still. I know you have a couple hundred families, but what do you normally, what's the process that you like to start out with people?
Yeah, thanks, Barry. You know, procedurally, it always starts with a phone call. You know, well, especially in these days, right? We're not
Yeah,
sitting down to coffee at the moment, but just to get to know them, you know, and for them to get to know me. There's I say it all the time. There are many excellent advisors out there. You know, it's not that shark world I think that some people think it is. You know, there's a lot of good
sure.
people out there, and so it ends up more being about a philosophical fit and a personality fit. You know, there's lots of good advice out there too. And so long as people are taking these long-term perspectives and they're buying high quality and they're intending to stay diversified, you know, making like kind of a not all your eggs in one basket sort of setup. Yeah, you know, this is no solicitation, honestly. You know, like you and I spoke about, this is you and me just kind of hanging out and letting
That's
people
right.
listen. But yeah, sure. My, you know, if you could post a phone number, an email, or something like that, I'd
I
be happy to
will.
speak with someone, certainly.
So I want to end with this because the beginning of our conversation today, when we first got on with each other, is you just were like, man, I just did some trades, and you know, I'm so excited about the future,
Yeah,
which is, you know, kind of the opposite where everybody else is at. They're like, oh my
sure,
God, you know, the sky is going to fall, you know.
sure,
So
sure.
what is it about the future that excites you right now, Aaron?
Man, you know, I think you can choose to approach the future with like a capital F. You can choose to approach that future out of uncertainty and fear, or out of just an optimism and a hope, just knowing that things are going to be okay. You know, and like you know, Lord willing, this happens. It gets to the end of this whole situation sooner rather than later. But I mean, even in the market, you know, I say it a lot to my clients is that like we're trusting and we're being very careful to pick the right companies and the right leadership and who have the right fundamentals. That basically we're saying, hey, listen, we know that some of these men and women have learned how to take these companies and make them profitable. And so even when the share price goes down, we wonder, one of the questions we ask is, well, the share price has gone down, but has the quality of the company gone down?
Right.
And you know, so you continue to look at many of the fundamentals and just say, gosh, what are the opportunities? And if you
Sure.
keep your head up and keep your head above the smoke, you start to see some of the mountain peaks.
Well, this is a really great point because when you think about what happened with the last recession, you know, the last recession was a train wreck because of greed. You know, it was taking all these bonds and pulling them together and then selling them off, you know, as solid investments with great ratings. And eventually that, you know, wound up being a house of cards and it fell apart. Now we've got a situation where what's happened is really no fault of anybody. It's just, it's nature striking out at us, and it's creating havoc. So all those great teams that have been building these companies are still there. It's just, who do you want to pick and put your money behind when
Mm,
this thing starts to go on the other end? So
yeah.
guys, I really encourage you to remain calm, remain positive, like Aaron is, and like I am, because if you think about everybody after the last recession, you know, I've said this in one of my other videos. There's a lot of people that panicked. You know, they sold off all their stock. Some of them even walked away from their houses for no other reason than they were just underwater and they didn't want to, you know, stick it out and watch it recover. The people that wound up doing really well were the people that had the long-term vision, that stayed in
Mm,
their stock positions. They dollar cost averaged when the values of the stock market went down, and then they also held on to their properties, and all of those properties wound up appreciating again. So just stay calm, stay positive. If you want some great information, I'm going to put Aaron's information down at the bottom of this screen. Highly encourage you to call him, and certainly you can always call me if you want to talk. And that's it. Aaron, anything you want to say in parting?
you know, just yes. I mean, unrelated to the market, I think now is just a fantastic opportunity just to keep finding opportunities to be salt and light in the people's lives around you. Right. I was challenged by a friend to call 5 people like non-business related, just call 5 people every day and check in, like my college roommate or an old mentor of mine. So I'd give the same challenge, even just make three calls a day. I think that we need a lot of connection right now, and high touch is going to be important in this season.
Great advice. And Aaron really does do that. He called me a couple of days ago. He said, I just wanted to say hi to you. Nothing in particular, just want to make sure that you're okay. So that's the kind of human being that he is. And I encourage you guys, get to know him a little bit, okay? Thanks for joining us. We're going to put Aaron's information down there. And please like our page, or, if you're on YouTube watching this, subscribe to our page. You can expect more talk like this. Hope this helped. Everybody stay safe.